slinging feces.
I mean, I'm not going to say I haven't done it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the grooming,
Yeah,
the social grooming.
Yeah, the social grooming is.
I'm down with that,
Yeah,
but you
I
know.
don't think anyone's complaining about getting their back scratched.
No.
There's
I wish our wives didn't catch us doing it quite so often. But so, speaking of
What were we speaking of?
being caught by wives, I don't know. I'm trying to do a segue. Leave me alone. Speaking of whatever we were speaking of,
Yes.
these segues getting harder.
Yeah.
Character creation.
Okay. Is that
That's where
Very
I'm going
good.
with that segue.
I was stuck on the chimps, but go on. Yes.
I mean,
Creation.
your character can be a chimp.
Well, yeah, maybe.
If you put a chimp in a hat, that is the universal sign of intelligent ape, right?
I see. Okay.
Like, think of any
I'll never look at
super
people in
intelligent
hats the same
animal.
way.
Think of any super intelligent animal. The clear distinction is you put that animal in a hat.
Yeah. Do you know what? Immediately, I was thinking of dolphins and Hitchhiker's Guide.
Do they wear hats?
In my mind, they do now.
Well, yeah. What kind of hat would a dolphin wear? Shower cap.
Probably.
Like a swimming.
Like a swimming cap, yes. A skull cap. So improved aerodynamics.
Okay. Should we talk about character creation?
Let's do that then.
I don't know. What hats different animals would wear? Oh, what would a T-Rex wear? No, David, focus. No more
flat cap, surely. Flat cap for a T-Rex.
Yeah.
In fact, I might have seen some pictures of T-Rexes just in baseball caps. I feel like that's quite. When I grew up, that was quite a male boy's appearance type. You know.
Yeah. The sort of
appealing to a male boy. T-Rex in baseball cap.
And then usually on a skateboard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always on it because they couldn't pick it up.
Yeah.
Because of the teeny tiny hands.
Right. So again, character creation.
Yes. We just created a T-Rex.
Well, yes, exactly. We did. Sorry, that is true. We just created a totally tubular T-Rex.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
In a sort of 90s street kid clothes.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Skateboarding.
Macaulay Culkin meets Jurassic Park.
Yeah. There we go. See, characters are everywhere. You just got to know where to look for them.
Yeah. So how do you go about creating characters? What's the most important things to think about? So we want this to be a sort of through the perspective of the person who's creating the character, I guess, right? So if you're a player, hopefully this will be somewhat helpful. If not, just populating your mind with pictures of animals and hats.
I think we'll probably do a separate chat about NPCs and things like that.
I thought you were going to say animals and hats.
I mean, we can do a whole segment on animals in hats. I think,
we should probably lock that behind some type of a Patreon paywall. It feels like it's what the people want.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Give us a $5, we'll do it.
Yeah. Just slip us a $5. We'll talk for an hour about hats.
Yeah.
If you just pay for a round of drinks, we'll.
So let me immediately throw you into the hot seat.
Yes.
There's a game in 2 hours.
Okay.
You need to come up with a character. You need to create a character, and you are stuck in that sort of analysis paralysis. I don't know where to begin. So what's the first thing that you're doing to try and?
So my sort of, I tend to sort of get various inspiration from various different places. If I'm actively seeking it though, I will often, if they're really good games, they'll have them themselves, but they've got plenty on the internet. I will turn to a good trinket table. I love a good
trinket table.
So basically, it's a table full of weird and wonderful things that your character might have.
Oh, like a roll table.
Yeah. So you roll you roll on the table, and then you get to. So there's one in. There was certainly one in the 5th edition Player's Handbook.
Some
but then
pit crawler as well. Some in pit crawler.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things in various different places around, but obviously there's also the internet, which is the home of or the solution to and the source of all my problems.
Yeah.
So I quite there's a few on there. I've got an example up here actually. If we we can scroll up. There's 1,000 trinkets. A dowsing rod, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your character has.
Sorry, what is a dowsing rod?
Have you seen those? They're like Y-shaped sticks, or they're occasionally
the vibration rod things.
Yeah, they're occasionally like an L-shaped stick that you kind of hold by the what's it, and then when they cross over, supposedly that's where you dig for water. I think
Is that bullshit?
I think that's bullshit.
I mean, there's water in most places if you dig long enough.
Well, yeah,
would be my argument, but then I'd be very thirsty.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say bullshit with no research. Perhaps at some point we
There's no way a vibrating rod tells you where water is. Sorry, logic just entered the building.
No.
That's total horseshit.
Well, you know, there are these sort of weird and wonderful things where you've got like, you know, occasionally some of this stuff that seems like horseshit will pan out. So I don't want to kind of, without an internet or without a sort of a what's it directly in front of me, I'm going to say I don't know. I'm going to veer on the side of bullshit, but you know. So there we go. So, but your character has one because we've rolled it on the trinket table.
Sure.
So,
but at least to say they're bullshit in our world, they might not be bullshit in whatever world this character lives in.
Exactly. So we look at the fact that our character has a dowsing rod, and then we look at the setting that we're in. If we're in a fantasy setting, maybe it's a magical dowsing rod, or maybe that person's bought what they thought was a magical dowsing rod. Yeah. But
or maybe they're selling them.
Maybe they're selling them. So you've got to. So once you've got that thing, you start asking yourself questions.
Okay. And you start getting these sort of forks in the road, and you start.
Yeah, and then you've got to kind of make this way or that way choices. So does this person believe this? So the first question is, does this person believe this dowsing rod exists? Is real?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, then you're going to go down one path. If the answer is yes, then you're probably going to go down another.
Sure.
Right. And then the question that you then have to ask, well, you sort of, and then you say, okay, so they don't believe that this dowsing rod is real, but they've got one anyway. Are they selling it? Is it an heirloom?
Is it a costume?
Are they pretending to be, are they a snake oil salesman? Or are they pretending to be a snake oil salesman?
In order to gain access to
something, or, are they showing the world that they're a snake oil salesman, but the real magic stuff's in the back?
Yeah.
Right? So once you've got that kind of... So it's about getting a sort of seeding crystal for the rest of the other stuff. So I find trinket tables a really good
way to start
with that. And then obviously you sort of got your... Hopefully you'll have your world as presented by the GM. So obviously you've got some hard rules there that your kind of choices can't supersede. But obviously within that, sometimes when you have an idea and you're like, I want my character to be a wizard, but the game system says no magic, like, cool. That doesn't mean that your character can't be a wizard. That just means that the wizardry that your character does isn't going to involve magic.
Yeah.
Right? So seeing something as sometimes these kind of rules aren't
as binary as they look.
Yeah, or they are kind of hard and fast physics, but they're not necessarily.
Roadblocks.
It doesn't mean that you can't sort of still achieve the character that you want. It just means some fundamental things about your character are going to be different. So that tends to be where I come from if I'm struggling. Sometimes I will just pick a dodgy accent and go with it.
Which accents do you consider to be dodgy? That was a joke.
Well, any that I attempt. Is
okay. That's a good answer. Maybe the only good answer to that question.
So, but yeah, so I might do a
Scottish.
What I tend to do is I tend to do impressions. and then I just don't tell people who it's an impression of.
Okay.
So if I'm doing my impression of Billy Connolly, I don't have to tell you that I'm doing an impression of Billy Connolly.
Yeah.
It is whatever it sounds like.
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing.
Always welcome at my table.
Wow.
A Billy Connolly impression.
I will. I'm not going to attempt it. I'm not going to attempt it.
Not by you being recorded. That seems foolish.
I mean, I used to be able. I don't know if I still could. I used to be able to count to 100 as Morgan Freeman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I couldn't. I can't do anything else as Morgan Freeman.
Well,
but I saw a YouTube video once that said, "This is once you learn how to count like count to 100 as Morgan Freeman, you can do a Morgan Freeman impression." The video was wrong because I could count to 100 as Morgan Freeman, and then I couldn't do anything else. And again, I'm not going to try that one on while I'm being recorded either. At some point, I might treat you to that wonderful shit show. But yeah, so that tends to be how I get with my inspiration and things like that. What about yourself? Where do you sort of?
So I have got less time in RPGs compared to you. So probably my stuff is more led on what I want to do. So it might be like role led. So maybe maybe I want to be like a sneaky thief or a mage, like you say, or maybe it also comes into it how complex those roles are. So if you're a wizard in D&D, there's quite a lot of self admin stuff you have to do. So maybe I've just finished a campaign where there's been high admin, and I want to be a big dumb bruiser type so that I can sort of relax for a few weeks and enjoy the social aspects rather than trying to nail the intricacies of whatever character I've created. So I normally just try and think about cool things that can be achieved, and I try to think outside of the box. So if I'm looking at like rulebook or stuff like that, in my mind I'll just start creating like some stories. So very often when I write a campaign, then I will come up with an idea, and when I come up with that idea, I've got I can see its implication in like 6 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that'd be a cool thing to get to. Write that down before you forget it, because I do forget these things. So then I almost work backwards. So it's a sort of less to chance. But once I have that moment of inspiration, then I'm and once I'm in that sort of creative state, then it's all it's free flowing. But then the original concept might just disappear, and I might just start again with something else. Because very often it's just about getting into the mindset. So I might watch some movies, I might read some books, I might watch some YouTube stuff, just to try and get me into that zone. And then or I might create a smaller thing.
I mean, you say about watching movies and things like that. There's nothing wrong with, if we're like, oh, I want to play Traveller, let's play Traveller. There's no problem with just going, right, well, if we're playing Traveller, I want to be Mal Reynolds from Firefly. I want to be, Captain Kirk. I want to be
sure.
Do you know? If we're doing a sci-fi thing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just going, I'm just going to be this
X,
character
Y,
from this sort of IP that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Right.
I played Outgunned, and I was a failed martial artist, and it was very heavily inspired by sort of Jean-Claude Van Damme in Kickboxer. And Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat.
Now, are you a failed martial artist in the fact that you kind of did martial arts but you didn't achieve the pinnacle, or are you a failed martial artist in the same way that I'm a failed martial artist, in that you're just some fat bloke in his 40s that can't do backflips?
No, he was a martial artist,
right.
But he was a failed movie star, so he was sort of like more of a stuntman rather than he wasn't Jackie Chan. He was. Brendan Lee, not Bruce Lee. So yeah, that was fun. So that's another thing you can do is you can look at things that are already in the world and mash a few of them together.
Yeah.
To sort of create this amalgamation. And what's really fun is
what would happen if Shaggy was in the Firefly universe?
Yes. what could be really fun is doing that, but then also putting significant flaw into your character. Because flaws, much like you see all of these TikTok, Instagram things saying, I'm totally okay with failure. Failure's worth more than successes because in failure you learn and stuff. Well, flaws are interesting.
Yeah.
It's rather than I'm a good guy, rah rah rah. You've got I'm a good guy.
Superman without kryptonite.
I'm trying to be overtly good because of my dark past or whatever. It's more interesting. Immediately, it's 3-dimensional, not 2-dimensional. So I think my process is probably just back the other way around from yours.
I think there's a whole kind of subject open for discussion in regards to flaws and people's sort of tendency to avoid them.
Yeah, people see them as like hamstringing.
Yeah, I think
that's probably because people are sort of role focused.
Yeah.
And the roles, you don't roll a lot of dice really.
No. And 9 times out of 10 the flaws of a character don't actually have that much mechanical.
No, so RP stuff in its roleplay.
Yeah, like if your character has can't swim as a flaw, then that's not going to necessarily come up a lot.
No, but it might make you make a choice.
Yeah, and also you're going to be thinking, okay, so what kind of person? Why has my character never learned to swim?
Yeah.
Is it because they're from a desert tribe that, for one reason or another, is I'm thinking the IRL from Wheel of Time. Like none of them can swim because they've never read that.
Already.
Don't be complaining that you've not seen that, Tom. No. No.
It's on Prime, but I know it's
Wheel of Time is not on Prime. There is a thing called the Wheel of Time.
Is it Subtle Knife? Is it that series?
Hmm?
Is it the Subtle Knife? Is that the first book?
No, it's The Eye of the World that's the first book.
Okay, cool.
Which I will bring next time I come and see you, and you will read that book.
This is a tangent. Apologies. My led tangent. I apologize.
Not that I'm bitter. I just feel that if you're going to make a story, you should make that story. If you're going to make a different story, you can make that and you can put money into it. It would be very good, I'm sure, but you call it something else.
Yes.
Wait.
You alright, David?
I'm alright.
Okay.
There is nothing wrong with that story.
I don't feel like you're alright.
I'm not alright. There's nothing wrong with that story.
Yeah.
It just has to be. It's just not the story that they said it was going to be.
Fair.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So but within that context, there's the sort of desert tribes that none of them can swim because they've never seen a body of water that they couldn't step over.
Sure.
Right. So your character not being able to swim is a flaw that's going to come up a lot, but it can also dictate a lot about, and not necessarily in a negative.
Oh no, in terms of table experience, there's some of the most compelling things you can do is find yourself in a situation, have to look at your fellow players and just be like, well, obviously I'd help you. It's just that my character would be wanting to get the gold. And then everyone's like, do the character thing, it's way more interesting. And then it sort of takes the story away from your personal, it removes personal responsibility because you're playing the role and it creates stuff that's way more interesting.
I think there's an opportunity that we can have for, again, another sort of, like, it's what my character would do is a whole kind of minefield. And I think if you are playing at the right table, that's absolutely fine. If you're not playing at the right table for that kind of stuff is going to get people really salty. Yeah, right? Maybe. If you're on the rob, if you're nicking stuff from other people,
that's different.
Or
that's different.
I think I think it. I would go for that. I absolutely.
Nicking stuff from other people is basically PvP. It's a different form of PvP, and we'll talk about that again maybe.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah. So you know, this comes down to the sort of table discussion that we've had a couple of times, where it's like sometimes if you're with, you've got to kind of play to the table that you're with.
Mm-hmm.
If the table that you're with isn't going to stand for you being sort of leaning into your faults as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
then you know, maybe keep that for another time, or kind of it's irksome, but sometimes you're going to have to pick a different character.
Yeah.
I've been at tables where I've really wanted to play a sort of alluring. Well, I played alluring young women, sort of leaning into their looks rather than and sort of their charisma and that kind of thing. But there's been people at the table that every time I've kind of embodied that,
Yeah.
they've taken it too far.
Yeah. Well, there's a
So-
group accountability thing.
Yeah, so sometimes you've got to kind of recognise that some of the characters that you're going to be portraying aren't necessarily a good fit for your table, and you have to kind of be conscious of that.
It's like a GM though. If you create this dungeon and your characters only explore 50% of the dungeon, then recycle, reuse.
Yeah,
You know, with those character concepts, you're creating a character. If it's not the right fit for the game on the table, don't rip it up and chuck it away. Stick it in a folder,
and come back to it.
and next time you've got 5 minutes to find a character, you've got a folder that's got 5 or 6 ideas in there that you can just run with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe you want to go back to it, and it's a nice little.
I mean,
bookmark.
I with my kids who've had you know, a fun afternoon just sitting and rolling up characters, creating characters, and sitting there and sort of saying, right, so what kind of adventure is this character going to go on? That kind of thing. It was sort of my prefix as they were a bit younger to get them into like role play and things like that. It's like, you know, let's build a fun person and then imagine the kind of situations that they might get into. Kind of thing. Tables are great. So you know, there's a few sort of games out there. The ones that spring to mind immediately, because I think there might be things, is like Pit Crawler and Perils and Princesses,
Sure.
because I've been reading those two a lot recently.
Yeah. Shadow Dark's heavy on table. Lots of OSR stuff
Yeah,
is big on tables or lethal systems are big on tables because tables form part of the quick character creation. So if you can remove your preference from character creation, so where I said I'm thinking about what I'm going to be doing, that works in a game where I'm not going to be dying.
yeah.
In a game where I'm going to be dying, roll the dice, see what comes up, and challenge yourself to be that person.
I think, yeah, and so, yeah, like you say, a lot of the OSR stuff where you're kind of just rolling those things. And then sometimes as well, you can have that character with those kind of qualities and things like that. You don't have to portray that character.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, different people have different preferences on how much they want to kind of embody a character in play.
Yeah, of course. You could be an engineer because Daddy was an engineer, and Daddy made you be an engineer, and really all you ever wanted to go and be a playwright or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You could be the sort of
Why do you want to shame me like that?
the nepo baby.
Why are you putting my
You know, you could
my
be
history
there.
out in the open like that?
You could just be like some nepo baby who just is afraid to make their own decisions because of the trust fund.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
But as I say, you don't necessarily have to portray that in game.
No.
You can just, you know, you can just sit there and go, my character is a beast master. He's got a fateful jaguar that he walks around with. Fair enough. Roll your die. Have fun.
Sure.
Obviously, different people's sort of preferences are going to vary, because if the rest of your table are like, I am Cathor, leader of the Bula people,
Yeah.
and hear me roar, and every time you go into battle, you're screaming a variety of war chants or singing war prayers out loud across the table.
Yeah.
Mr. I've got a Jaguar is
But yeah.
going to be a bit.
That's more about balancing your table.
Yeah, I suppose, but but maybe sometimes one guy can get kind of toned down a little bit, and then the other person can kind of.
Yeah, like that
bring
might
it up
happen
a
one
bit.
time, but then you need to have a bit of group accountability and talk to leader of the jungle people.
I've definitely been the only person at the table playing into character before, and it can be really fun, but when you also have to check that, because when I say the only person playing into character, I'm including the GM. So I've had games that I can kind of point at that I didn't necessarily mean to, but it very much became a David show.
Yeah, that's just that's table time.
And like, I'm self-aware enough that I can kind of check the table, and like everybody at the table was having a good time at the David show, but I also am aware that that's not necessarily what people kind of sign up for. So quite often those are usually the times where I end up backseat GMing as well, which isn't. I mean, we can have a whole other. There's lots of other chats that we need to have, but
yes.
But when you've sort of got your inspiration for a character, how do you figure out what is sort of their motivation, what kind of goals that they're looking for within the world and things like that?
So it kind of depends. So part of my character creation, I would think about stuff like family, friends, or jobs. There's some good systems. I'm a constant proponent of the Cyberpunk Red system, and in more systems nowadays, there's some life path stuff that sort of generates that for you. Again, using role tables, so it'll tell you, who are your family, what happened to your family, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So then it's once you have your bit of your character created, you can use that to sort of decide how you want to play them. So, for example, if I've rolled an engineer, then how comfortable am I playing an engineer or wanting to be an engineer? Well, I mean, maybe, probably not hugely, personally. So then my arc might be changing that or redefining it. So I'm an engineer and I want to incorporate magic into my creations, therefore I'm looking for texts and wizards in this world to try to incorporate those other ideas so that I can evolve that character. And then I can go, okay, so that's like mid-term goal.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'll be fairly clear about from the start. Is that I've done research for a number of years, and there's more excitement to be found in the world. That's why I'm adventuring. That's why I'm not in a library or working with my dad. That's why this Nepo child is going out into the world to go and experience stuff and create something new. And then I'd sort of just hint at it and let the GM know it's something I want to do.
Yeah.
So that hopefully there's an environment that's pops up where I get the opportunity to develop that more head on.
Yeah.
So I like to think about where I would like to go, sort of like in a mid-term and a longer-term process. And then what I also quite like to do is we might get halfway there, and because of the people I'm playing the game with, my priorities might change.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of different influences that you can have on what you're doing as a person.
Yeah, I think you have to sort of set out with a goal in mind, but be prepared that
it can change.
And it's okay that it does.
Because as a person at the table, the fun is very much in making your way to the goal, not necessarily achieving the goal.
Yeah.
Because what do you do when you achieve your goal? Retire your character?
Yeah.
End the campaign? Okay. But I mean, it's the process that's fun.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's so within that, what about sort of pre-generated characters? So for me, when I go to cons and stuff, I'll present people with a set of pre-generated characters.
Yeah.
I always like to keep a bit of flavour in there to kind of hint at some motivation for why they're out in the field. Because I've had sort of pre-generated characters presented to me before that literally said one day they decided to go adventuring.
Yeah.
And I think I've never encountered anybody that's just sort of got up one day and just gone, you know what, I'm going to walk from Land's End to John O'Groats, bye!
Yeah.
And just sort of...
It's called a midlife crisis, David.
Yeah, I think so.
In which case, that might be the only way that you can play that off. But if you have it on every one of your character sheets, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think when I got that character, I played them as if they'd literally had a mental breakdown.
Yeah, that's a risky one.
and they had sort of been reading Don Quixote. And they had convinced themselves that they were Don Quixote and just wandered off on an adventure.
Okay.
That was an interesting...
I don't know that I've ever done this, but pre-generated characters, I guess there's a couple of things that you want to give your players, because you want it to be open to interpretation.
Yeah.
You've got 4 people at a table and 3 people have grabbed a character sheet, and the 4th person grabs the character sheet and it kind of boxes them in. That can immediately make their experience only able to be a 7 out of 10 because I didn't want to be an archer or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Maybe archer might be the wrong thing because you can only do so much with weapons and stuff. But like giving the person a profession, and then with some systems you have things like personal motivations or traumas or things that got you to this point. So being like, putting stuff in those boxes, but being deliberately slightly vague.
Yeah.
So that people can make this character their own very quickly. And then when you look at stuff like some systems have got mementos, other systems, you just have an inventory of stuff. Putting something which doesn't belong in their inventory. So, for example, a meathead barbarian guy with a double-handed sword, and the Black Book's Little Book of Calm, if you get the reference.
Yeah.
Then immediately, get the player then thinking, why have I got the Little Book of Calm? If I eat the Little Book of Calm, does it take me out of a rage state? Or, how does that interact?
I started watching Black Books.
Yeah, Black Books is amazing. So, it's contradicting the main statistics with something small that either can or can't be interacted with depending on how the person feels.
Yeah. I tend, whenever I run I tend to go rules light, or do homebrew systems when I run at cons and things like that. And I will deliberately, Fate's a good example, 1 or 2 of the aspects blank. Or if there's a sort of slot for a general skill, I'll leave that
Yeah, you do this, yeah.
blank. I'll say, whatever you want.
Put it in there.
If something comes up and you're like, I think my guy's going to be able to do that, or I think my person's going to be the person to do that.
Yeah.
Fill that in. Tell me why. I think that tends, for me, to give people a quick buy-in to a character.
Yeah, it does.
And it helps them kind of think about their character more than just, especially in cons and stuff. You're just given a piece of paper, and that thing could be whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter what. It's just a load of numbers on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
To really sort of get the buy-in for the people, you kind of I'll leave a sort of slot blank. So with all that together, where do you stand on sort of? I suppose we've covered the embodiment of characters a little bit, haven't we? Because you as an individual and mileage is going to vary as to how much of that character is going to make it into, because we've all had sort of grand ideas of the character that we want to portray, and then the moment that I start rolling, that's not who I'm playing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? You know, the moment the dice start rolling and I start rolling ones immediately,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so maybe this person isn't as competent as he thought he was,
Sure.
or that he thought they were.
It gives you a grounding though, because it's when you're creating your character, you're basically saying, how do you see yourself? But you're asking, but it's the character who's answering that question, not the person.
Yeah.
So Rincewind, how do you see yourself? And then Rincewind describes themselves, and actually through happenstance and luck or misfortune, these crazy things continue to happen around this person.
Actually, one of the greatest wizards ever to walk the earth.
Do you know what I mean?
Despite the fact that he's a objective failure.
Yes. Yeah. It's essentially just putting a character in front of a mirror and saying, who are you? Oh, I crush, I smash. What's that little book you've got? Don't worry about the little book. Definitely don't eat the book. And then you go from there and develop.
Yeah.
It's only, a self
And
image.
I think it's important to realise as well. I saw something the other week, and it was about Thor from the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And when you actually look at the sort of whole trajectory of the Marvel Universe, and you realise that Thor is about 1,600 years old, the whole Marvel canon is in the space for him of about 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's effectively been the weirdest fucking year in that guy's life.
Yeah.
Like, compared to the sort of other years that he's had, it's just been like, obviously for mere mortals, it's sort of been a span of like 20 years or so.
Yeah.
But for him, it's been sort of
The blink of an eye in his life.
Yeah, and it's just been the weirdest week.
Yeah, but there's interesting. I'm thinking now of Thor Ragnarok, and Odin says to Thor when Helen turns up, and Thor's going to go Hela, sorry, and Thor is struggling, and he sort of says, "Oh, I can't do this. I don't have my hammer," and Odin says, "You're the god of thunder. You're not the god of hammers." So when we create our characters, we're creating the god of hammers.
Yeah.
And when we play the game, we find out whether we are the god of hammers or the god of thunder. And that feels like a thirsty moment to order another round.